I went in with a paediatrician and I recall vividly her saying to me, "This is for life." I thought the answer was going to be autism, and I didn't want that answer. I wanted our paediatrician to go, "Everything's fine, he's just a little bit slow at developing." But to hear that when you actually don't even know what to do with that diagnosis or what the best thing will be for your child moving forward, it's just a very big weight around your neck. So you have a burden with no solution.
I think that's an important thing to understand, that it's not a diagnosis for one member of the family, it's a diagnosis for the entire family, and how the entire family reacts is very important as well.
Reading through the report that had that label and had, you know, all of those observations that added up to that label was quite difficult. You know, we knew, we'd seen those things for years, but just seeing it in writing was emotional.
Came home, it's like, wow, where do we start from? As a parent, it was the unknown, I think, of not knowing about autism that much because I hadn't been involved in any of it. I was scared, I was broken, we cried. Not because of the label, it was more that we cried for Bradley, that he wasn't going to have that regular kid's life, and we had to deal with that as parents. He was fine, he was never going to know any different, so for us it was us coming to terms with it.
Such a mix of emotions, you know, fear and terror and love and just fight. And it was just hard to process all of that at once, I think, and that's why I just had to sort of sit on that feeling for a couple of weeks before I could even do anything about anything.
I would have been horrified if they hadn't diagnosed him, because it was so obvious that he was on the spectrum and that he needed to do things differently, and we all needed to do things differently.
I felt like I'd been hit by a truck for quite some time, and then I just looked at my beautiful little boy and I thought, well, that's not going to get us anywhere. So I just picked myself up, one step at a time. I had no idea what I was doing, except that I believed in him and I wanted the best for him. It was just a matter of, I've got to go and find what we need.
We did find out that there were a lot of people who said they could help you, but it was not necessarily the right thing for us to do. So yeah, it's a bit of a scary world.
For me, it was an answer that yes, there is an explanation to this, why my kid is very different from the other kids. I got something to work on, I have some explanations, and instead of going to somebody and describing the symptoms, I could just say, my daughter has autism, can you help me? And that just said it all. Made it much more easier to ask for help.
You know, like, we live in a place where we have great programs and funding and everything else, but it's the entry into it and finding the providers and finding the people to trust. There's an element of your gut instincts, an element of your own intuition, but this is, for most people, something you don't know anything about.
At the end, he said, but there is a hope. There are therapies, and there is a behavior therapy which helps the kid to get the functional language. So I want you to go home and explore what best behavior therapy you can get.
I think there's a real mourning period of, this is what we planned for our child, and he won't be able to achieve that. What I think you learn over the years of watching your child smash milestones eventually is they do it in their own way, and they are amazing at what they do in their own way. You just have to help them find their way, what it is that they need to be the best they can be, to build strong friendships and relationships and their own support network and team around them, but also the clinical support and advice that you need, and that repetition and relationship and support is crucial.